The Backdoor GAA Podcast for 2023 is now brought to you by Steede Motor Group. For your personalised vehicle shopping experience, visit steedemotorgroup.ie.
So delighted now to be joined by St. Thomas's Senior Hurler Manager Kenneth Burke and Gort Senior Hurler Greg Lally to look back on what was a real positive weekend for the Galway Senior Hurlers with their 2-point victory in the end over Tipperary, which now sees Galway advance to the All-Ireland semi-final on Saturday week, where they'll be up against the reigning All-Ireland champions, Limerick. It doesn't get any easier for here, but at the same time, Galway are 70 minutes away from where they wanted to be, so a massive positive. Kenneth, I suppose the thing really coming out of Limerick probably was Galway probably did make that a bit more difficult on themselves than it really needed to be on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose they were by far the better team overall. They had plenty of chances. Looking back, they could have another 2 goals got really, but in the intercounty hurling, they're probably not going to be on top all the time. So when they weren't on top, they did well. They kind of defended well, and they worked probably a lot harder than know themselves, even from the Leinster final. So which is a plus. Still have plenty to work on, but to win a game like that, probably could have been a bit easier. But it's good to win a game that they got over the line, and they've plenty to work on. So they'll take massive positives from it. They worked awful hard, and they did stop Tip's game. So a lot of people saying Tip didn't perform, but Galway didn't let them perform either. They got the tactics right. Cathal Mannion, obviously a great game, kind of sweeping, got on plenty of ball and delivered it well. So I think they'll be happy overall. They know they'll have to up it again for Limerick, but they know that they can get over the line in them tight games.
Defensively, Kenneth, was that the best performance we've seen from Galway all year from a defensive perspective?
Probably was. I suppose you look at Tips forward, when was talking about Tips forwards before the game, that what were they going to score and how would they contain them, and to man, they all performed very well, defended well. Basic as a defender, Greg will tell you, you have to be touch tight and be tight on your man and win your own battles. And I suppose they had the blanket of Cathal Mannion being there if to cover them, but there was still plenty of space there at times that they had to win their own ball. And even if you look up the field, the forwards worked a lot harder as well. I thought they defended well, didn't give Tip any time to hit in any good ball. The ball that went in the second half to Tip was poor, but that was probably down to the work rate up the field. And I think Galway got the matchups right on that as well, and the puckouts. They shut down Tip's puckouts a lot of the time. Anytime they went long, Tip weren't able to win it. So it's massive credit to the management that they got tactics right, and it doesn't always work, but over the hour, I think, or the 70 minutes, they definitely got the tactics better than Tip, and Tip couldn't adapt in once Galway were set up. They probably didn't think Galway would play like that, and they just couldn't adapt in, and they were probably on the back foot in from the start.
Particularly as well, Craig, when you see Mark Hill and Seamus Callanan go at half time, that just indicates probably how on top the Galway backs were in that opening half in particular.
Yeah, definitely. Like on their day, they're probably definitely Seamus and down for the years has been one of the top forwards in Ireland. So it was definitely a boost to Galway when they went off at half time. But I just like to touch on what Kenneth said there. I just thought that as a unit, the back seven, as you can call them, a call there, was just very strong, and they played the game plan to a T. Really, like when the ball was coming in, that they were able to use Cathal when they got the ball, or they had braked Cathal, or even Aina finding Cathal all the time. And I just think Galway used the ball an awful lot better than when it went into Cahill's hand. The ball into full forward line was a lot better than what Ronan Maher's ball, say, on the opposite side was coming into Tipperary forward line. And as Kenneth said there, I think the forwards worked so hard as well on the far side to stop Ronan Maher from hitting the perfect ball, and it all works in a tangent in like that. The ball is poor coming in, breaks down, and Cathal, I think Cathal is probably one of the finest strikers in the game, so that definitely helps when the ball is going in. But no, fair play to the management. They got the tactics spot on there, and definitely went out not to concede any goal, and bar probably a bit of a mishap in the second half. It was nearly off to a tee, and I think that was the big thing, as Kenneth said, they were on about all week what is the Tipperary forwards against the Galway backs. That was the main talking point of the week, of that was going to contest or be the outcome of the game, who won that. I think definitely Galway come out on top, and albeit I suppose the scoreboard was a bit flatter and towards Tipperary, and without a doubt, if you break it down through the game, Galway should have won by a lot more than they did, but quarterfinals are there for winning as their semi-finals, so that wouldn't bother me too much that we only won by the 2 points. I think that going into the semi-final, you're probably better off not winning by a bigger margin. But overall, I think that they have to be happy with the outcome was.
Did they do anything different defensively, Craig, or was it just the call sitting back in that pocket did really help things as well?
Yeah, well, as Kenneth said there, I think the fact Cathal was there in the pocket, it allowed the backs to go man for man and up tight, and if they made a mistake by going too hard for the ball, at least they knew Cathal was there for protection, and that definitely helped. And I think in general, though, the backs were just tighter and played better, like, you know, man for man, as you said, the two lads getting took off at half time. Jake Morris is very quiet. Jason Ford is very quiet. You know, the Tipperary forwards, for all the talk about them being sharpshooters all week, I think the lads managed them very, very well. Sean Linan had a great game out the field, and all through the back eight, really, like the back nine, as you could say, with Cathal, I just thought as a unit they worked very, very well. Like, and you know, I suppose it makes a difference as well that they, like, going into the last quarter, they had an 8-point cushion going in, opposed to the last 2 games where they were chasing against Dublin and chasing against Kilkenny. It probably allows you to defend differently as well. And that definitely helped the last day, like, you know, and albeit they only won by 2, as I said, I just thought that they had themselves in such a good position that they were allowed to defend differently. Like, and other days as well, like them 2 or 3 goal chances would have went in and they would have been able to defend totally different again. But overall, I think they'll have to be happy. Like, and as I said, the floor or the scoreboard definitely flatter Tipperary, I think, on the day.
Kenneth, with Cathal Manning's role when he's dropping back deep, he gives you that protection, but how much of a positive is as well when you have Cathal can give you protection, but like the passes as well that Cathal Manning was picking out on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. His striking is top quality. He can score from out the field from anywhere, 70 yards out, left and right. But some of the passes he hit into the full forward line the last day were straight across the field, 70 yards into a guy's hand coming at pace. They're unbelievable passes. Like, we probably didn't score as much often than we should have. Tipperary defended them fairly well once or twice that we won the ball and turned us back. But the striking was top class, and his reading of the game was. He worked awful hard. He was kind of, if you were at the game, you could see where he was setting up on the puck out. He was staying on the wing on the Tipperary puck out, and he was just sitting there and taking that option away from them on one side of the field. So Tipperary had to go the far side most of the time, and Galway could overload that side in. And the minute it was pucked out, then he was gone. Straight back into the middle, straight away, covering that pocket. And in fairness to the backs, every time they got a great touch on it there, they were looking for him straight away, and he was an option into the hand. He can look up, and no better striker to deliver the ball inside. Like Kevin Cooney and Conor got great on. Conor Whelan got great on the first half. Being isolated as well, which is very hard to win, because obviously Galway were man down with Cathal playing that sweeper. Ronan Maher was the far side, but definitely Cathal Mannion plays the role a lot better. Has that pace to get over and back and delivery of the ball. He's obviously a forward probably by nature himself, so he knows what ball forwards like and where they want it. So that's definitely an advantage. He knows where to put it, and doesn't have to be a perfect ball, but it's outside the forward. He's always a chance to win it. So his striking was top quality, and it was interesting just on that puck out, that Tip couldn't figure out what to do after that. They had to keep going to one side or go short, but even when they went short, they weren't able to work it through the lines. Galway really crowded out that area. Even Cathal pushed up at times when he had to, when they were trying to work it through the lines, and just crowded them out. So it'll definitely be needed the next day against Limerick, because Limerick like to play with loads of men around the middle. It's like a middle 8, and leave the 2 lads up top. So Galway will more than likely probably set up like that again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Majority of the time as well, Kenneth, Tip were nearly letting the Galway full back line have it. Like, it was nearly every puck out, you could say, in the first half. One of the cornerbacks, either Morrissey or Grealish, was getting it every time. Yeah,
like, again, they were happy enough. They probably thought they'd use Ronan Maher as a sweeper plenty of times before as well, so they thought they'd be happy enough to contain. They probably were happy enough. They didn't play that well, and only 2 points down ago, they'd missed chances. So if you were in Tip dressing room half time, they were probably thinking, okay, if we get going here, we still have chances. Galway have missed a few. So, but Galway with Cathal playing there, the backs were brave then looking for the puck out. So would you have to, if one back isn't looking for it, it's very, very easy to defend a forward to defend two backs if no one isn't looking for the ball. So if there's one guy not looking for it, it's easy to defend that. So as a unit, the whole backs, and with Cahill in there as well, have to work together, try and create space for one guy to get it, which they did very well. Like, in fairness, Ian Murphy's puckouts have been top class. He's really quick, and he's unpredictable. You're looking at him, you're not sure who he's going to give it to, but he gives it straight into hand. Like, and in fairness to God, they work the ball up the field and in a better position for shot selection. Like,
Craig, from playing with Carl, would you believe this is his best role for a Galway?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't, to be honest. Yeah. I think him at centre forward, I think you just saw, or even a floating centre forward that comes out the field, and as Kenneth says, like, he'll ping them for 70, 80, 90 yards. He's just an unbelievable striker. Probably one of the finest strikers I've seen. But like, I even there, that probably would have, like, David is probably the best I ever seen to play that role, which would allow Cahill push up the field a bit in an ideal world. So yeah, he does the role brilliant, and I think he's the best after Davy to do it. But in an ideal world, I prefer to have Cahill a bit more up the field. I just think that he's one of those players that will guarantee you 5-6 points per game if he's more up the field with his striking. So not taking away from the game he had the last year what he played, but I just think that, like, he probably plays the role a bit further up the field better. Not that he doesn't play the role sweeping better, but just, I say, for this year going forward, yeah, without doubt, as Kenneth touched on there with Limerick, the next day, like, they like to play, obviously, they probably play the ball just as good as Cahill did the last day inside. And that is their game plan too inside. So Cahill is going to more than likely have to sit back and watch that Aaron Gillan thread, or Seamus Flanagan, or Peter Casey, whoever's inside. So I'd imagine Galway will set up the same way.
It's the biggest thing, Craig, when you're just looking at Limerick now. Like, you still look at the last day, there was 18 wides, there was still this kind of team of ball driven into Conor. You want to feed him ball, but you want this ball to be perfect every time. And when you see Carl Mannion and the way he's passing it, is this just really where players need to be more composed on the ball, or why is this kind of still happening in games?
I think it's just the way the game has gone now, though, isn't it? Like, players, particularly from their own in-line or goal line to 45, tend to have more time in the ball. Like, you see Jack or Darren, if they're getting the ball in the corner, they have more time to find the ball. And I think Limerick have been just the standard setters of the best users of the ball when they get it. And they have the right people to do it as well, with Declan Hannon being that, as you could nearly call it, the quarterback for American football. And it's all different plays, and I think it's how you do it, like, because even Tipperary the last day when the ball was, and I know you were in front of me, Paul, when the ball was coming in there, like, to Seamus Cannon in the first half, it wasn't a great ball. It was head high, it was over his head, and that allowed Galway to defend that and counteract it. And as Kenneth touched on there, Cahill was pinging crossfield balls, and they were going in front to Whelan or Bino, whoever was there, and they were able to pick on that ball. And it was just the quality of the ball was better in. And it didn't make a difference whether it was Seamus Cannon or if it was Conor on the flip side. The last day, if that ball was going into Conor Whelan, he would have found it very hard to make use of it as well. But it was just the quality of the ball that was going in. But as Kenneth touched on, I think that came down to the half forward line for Galway and the full forward line working very hard to make sure that maybe Ronan Maher didn't have the same amount of time that Cahill had on the ball. And I think on the flip side, the Tipperary forwards probably didn't work hard enough as well when Cahill did have the ball, or Jack had the ball, or whoever coming out. They nearly had all the time in the world. There was 2 or 3 times the last day in the first half where Cahill had actually time to put it on the hurl, wait for 5 or 6 seconds, look, put it on the hurl again, and take his second catch. He had so much time to the ball up. Whereas Ronan Maher on the flip side, when he got the ball, Galway had a plan in place that Kevin Cooney was pressuring, or Brian was pressuring, or Conor was pressuring, so he didn't have all the time to hit it in. And I think that's why the poor ball was coming into the inside line.
Is that the biggest area improvement, Kenneth, that they'll be looking for Limerick?
Yeah, I think so. Like, if you look at the Leinster final to even the Dublin game to the last day, I think the forwards work out was a lot, as a unit, was way higher. Like what Greg said there, was hit the nail on the head, that when the tip backs got it, they didn't have as much time to get that perfect ball. They were under pressure straight away, and as a unit then they were squeezing up on the backs and the midfielders that they couldn't get a handy pass out to someone in a better position, and that Tip weren't doing that. So for Galway, they have to maintain that again the next day. If if they don't do that or get to that level or even get to a higher level of work rate up there as a unit, Limerick are going to punish you. Limerick will use the ball a lot better. They'll score from distance. So to have any chance the next day, they're going to have to bring that match what they did the last day and even surpass that. And even that the guys came in, the subs came in the last day, I think made a big difference as well. Like looking at Galway squad now, you'd have to be happy that there's a good squad there. The 5 subs to come in to finish off the game, which you're going to need against Limerick. God knows, could even go to extra time. You're going to need fresh legs because the physicality of this game is going to be massive, and you're going to need guys to come in to finish the game off. And look at Tom Mann came on and got 3 scores, which was vital. Conor got a couple of possessions, and all the other guys that came in worked hard, and you have to keep that momentum going, and you need someone that's going to come in and make an impact in the game. So like, we definitely be a lot happier, but they know themselves they have to bring that again. If they don't, they will be punished. Limerick will punish you. They'll score from out the field, they work the ball in their triangles, get a good ball into Gillan. Like hopefully you have to get the matchups right again, and get guys to mark certain players in different roles. So I think it'll be an interesting battle, and hopefully we'll go perform to the level they can, and you wouldn't know what happened.
How do you go about improving your shooting efficiency within this week or so now, Kenneth?
You're not going to improve it massively. It's at this rate now, they'll probably get one more tough session in, maybe not even that tough at this stage. It's trying to tweak maybe puck outs and how they use the ball a little bit better. They'll probably do their video analysis and look at what they need to do. And I suppose going back to the point that you said earlier, using the ball, I think up long lump of ball, there's always going to be a couple of times that happens when you are playing a sweeper like Cahill was playing, because guys are going to be out of position and they're working, which Galway were working hard, and they just couldn't get back up the field quick enough. But that's the beauty of just having Whelan or someone, even any of the forwards are able to win high ball, which is a great benefit to Galway as well. Just get it in there once it's down the other end. I know it's not ideal, you can't be the perfect ball all the time, so they have to try and keep it up there. Even if they don't win it, they're slowing it down, that Galway can reset and start pushing up the field in again to be in position for the next ball to come. So I know there's probably frustrations at the time the last day when there was ball just lumped up the field, but overall that was frustrating Tipperary as well, because there were so many bodies around the middle. They couldn't get their runners coming down the middle to try and create goal chances. So there was a flip side to that. Galway were shutting down space. I know we probably didn't use the ball well, but it was stopping Tips goals opportunities at the other side.
And Craig, we were touching on, obviously they'll be lucky to improving their shooting efficiency and everything against Limerick, but the biggest positive I take it now to come out from the Gaelic grounds, as we've touched on, is the work rate from that forward unit.
Yeah, and like the next day game with Limerick, and it was kind of touched on there, like it's the middle third that's going to win the game, like because Limerick are so good at that, as Kenneth said, playing the triangles, getting the ball out and getting the perfect ball into Gillan, but also the runners as well. Like they're going to need the forwards going to really need to stop the likes of Jimmer Burns, Barry Nash, Kyle Hayes bombing on forward and tracking these runs and stopping the runs from happening at the point of the starting point. So that just all comes down to the middle third and bunching that up and making that area just an absolute battlefield. And like the levels, as Kenneth said, they're going to go up 3 more notches the next day. Like that Tipperary game was not even a patch on what it's going to be like the next day, and they just need to be ready for a war, like, and like just literally trust every man to man, and like it's like if it's going to be called, it's going to be sitting back, that they've trust called, they put in the right ball, and trust the lads in the full forward line to be the first line of defence, and it all works. Like, and they're well able to do it, like, and they've proved in the last 2 years that they're not too far away, and the team hasn't changed massively, so there should be no fear going in the next day, you know. And especially with the likes of the way Limerick, albeit I know Munster Championship's a lot different to when I guess their Ireland series, but like, Limerick aren't exactly shooting the lights out this year as well. So I think that the game on Saturday was definitely it's a great momentum shifter, you could say, after the Leinster final, to get things back on track. And as Kenneth touched on there, I think they've probably got 17, 18, 19 players now at this stage that they can call a panel, and they can call on 4 or 5 lads that they can really bring on to make a difference. As Mono come on the last day and got 3 points when he wasn't starting. So it takes a lot to not start and then come on and get 3 points like he did. And Conor got 2 or 3 great possessions when he come on. John Finton, I'm sure, will have a bigger role to play the next day. So like everyone to man. Like I think they all delivered the last day, and I think they're going to need that and bring it up a few more levels the next day as well.
It's an interesting point, and kind of touched on it as well, Greg, but you touched on it there, obviously, with the depth now. If you look at even the subs that come on the last day, like if G Mac or someone is to pick up a knock, like to bring in Finton, it doesn't weaken things at all. You have Conor Cooney, you have Tom Monaghan, you have Jason Flynn, you have Liam Collins, and like you're even looking at some of the players who didn't get on the last day. They've made these few changes that they made against Tip. It seemed to freshen it up, and it really seems to add it now to the competition in the squad.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, and I think the fact that when the team was announced, or even when we were down there the last day on Saturday, and you see Ronan Glynn starting, and you see the other two changes with the lads coming in, Sean Linan and you see, like, you wouldn't turn around and say the team is weakened by any means at all. Like, you know, which is a great way to look at it. And then you had the three lads that were left off, and of course Jason's been a great impact so far this year as well, and has been for the last couple of years. And look at then you have the likes of Liam Collins and these lads coming through. So without a doubt, you probably have 20-21 players there that you can call at any given time. And you'll need it, because Limerick are very strong like that as well. And when you get to the last four, Clare's subs are doing massive numbers now as well since they come on. Kilkenny be the same way the next time when they get the 3 or 4 lads back. And that's the quality you need to get to the Ireland semi-finals. You need to be able to bring on 3 or 4 lads that'll be game changers on the day. And look at, I suppose Henry probably has 1 or 2 more calls to make the next day as well. Which I wouldn't like to be in his position for that, because a lot of lads didn't play bad at all the last day, but a lot of lads played very well when they come on, and a lot of lads that I presume that'll be probably disappointed they didn't start in the first place. So some big calls to make the next day, but that's the joys of being in our Ireland semi-final, I suppose.
Craig, kind of touched on it there. Sean Linan came in the last day and made an impact, and the job he did on Noel McGrath on Saturday, it probably does go under the radar, but like, he's come in this year, he's made an impact in every game, but he just really built on his performances on Saturday evening. Yeah,
without doubt. Like, he's obviously very hard of the last few years, but he's got a string of games under his belt now, and he's a lot more confident, and he's used the ball as very well. Was very good the last year as well. He just didn't shut down Noel McGrath, but he used the ball well when he's on it as well. I suppose the start he ran about 20 metres and met Noel McGrath straight on at the throw-in, and Noel McGrath knew he was going to be in for that. But that's the physicality you have to bring to not only quarter-final, to the knockout game, but Galway definitely brought that intensity. So if you had touching back on the few guys that came in, Keenan Fahey and Ronan Glennon did massive work. Keenan Fahey did a great game. Ronan Glennon worked awful hard for the 50 minutes on the game when he was there. And the boys that came in then obviously up the ante then again. So like you touched on Jason Flynn, Liam Collins, there's serious forwards there as well. Like, and I think if they get on, you'll be hoping they do damage the last few minutes, and there's a bit of space and it opens out. And I think Liam Collins, if he gets in, Crow Park will suit him down to the ground. He'll love the space, and he's so elusive. He can get on ball and he can score from everywhere. So we'll be hoping he can do damage if he gets in. Like Greg said, yeah, you're going to have to probably do the changes. It'll be interesting to see will there be certain matchups that they think they might need for differently for Limerick. Limerick definitely aren't as probably quick in the forward line as Tip. So yeah, I think Galway will match them physicality wise, and will they change and tweak it a small bit to match that as well? We'll have to wait and see, but it's a good position to be in. Competition is there, and that's you need lads driving each other on. And if it was easy pick the team, lads wouldn't be pushing themselves as hard as they can, and it just has a knock-on effect on the whole performance. Lads have to perform well, or they're not going to be picked. So they're in a good position. Everyone thinks obviously Limerick will want to be favourites, but I give Galway a great chance. I suppose how they shut down that space in front of Gillan and Flanagan will be the key. You'd have to say they probably will sit Cahill there to be a bit mad if they didn't, the way it worked out the last day. I suppose it'll be interesting to see will Limerick be able to work around it, not like Tip weren't able to get around it. So that'll be the battle of the tactical battle straight away. How will they get in there, or will they just shoot from distance? I suppose Galway didn't have to adapt. If that's what they do, they're going to have to push Cahill out. If they're a man down out the field, Limerick will punish you. If they've got that extra man, they will use them and find them every time. So it's Galway will have to adapt if that game changes as well.
From knowing even the Thomas's lads, Kenneth, and they're obviously hunting now, you can imagine, to get back into the starting 15. But do you think that's a great position from management to be in now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the lads know themselves, they'll be hurt. They all want to play, and they know themselves the performance levels probably weren't to where they should be in the game before that. And the guys that came in freshened up and they had played well. So the guys will be pushing to get back in. Just like any player that was, even Tom Annan coming in 3 points, did a massive performance, coming in, scored 3 points like that. And I don't think he mightn't even had any other possession, only the 3 I think at the time. Like, so to get 3 shots and 3 was unbelievable. So they'll be guys be going to get in, and that's you need guys is coming in to prove a point, to get in and perform well. And like I said already, if you don't have that competition, it's hard to get that performance where you need it to be. I suppose that's why Limerick have been so good. They've such a big squad, guys pushing each other. Reedy, the English, Peter Casey, all these guys, they're not guaranteed to start every day, so they've been in and out. So they obviously been pushing hard the last few weeks in training. So the competition is there in Limerick. So that's all the other counties that are chasing them have to get to as well. Like, so it's good that Galway have that competition there now, and it's hard for the guys to pick it.
Just on that as well, Kenneth, we had Craig on one of the times, and it was obviously when the news broke about David Burke's cruciate injury, but you can even see him Mayor-ish on the line. I presume he's still, even with David Burke injured at the moment, that he's still having a massive impact on this group.
He's there. He's in the training sessions as much as possible, I think, right? And he's helping out the stats guys, and so he just has his experience on the line, giving messages in and talking to the guys, and like he's obviously still very friendly with all of them. So it's probably a help to them that he's there to help them out and get messages in and talk to the guys on the field in the heat of battle, which management probably might be able to get out. It's very hard. There's no mayor phone and all to get messages out. It's very difficult to get messages out to players. So your mayor commands are probably important to get the message out to the guys on the field if there's changes to be made or positional changes. So it's probably a benefit for them there. Yeah.
Craig, just with that, just if we're even looking at the opening half, Galway obviously going in 10-7 ahead at the break, but was there sort of a flatness to this game, do you feel?
Yeah, it felt like that down there right at the time. There was a bit of like that, like there probably was no real liveliness the first half really as such. I think when Whelan got the goal at the start of the second half so quick, it kind of set the tempo how it'll be, and Tipperary kind of went back into their shell for a while. But in the first half,
One-trick pony's doing all right.
One-trick pony's doing right, yeah. He's having some year. My eyes, he's heard of the year, so never a one-trick pony, but yeah, no, I think it was a bit of that kind of stop started, I think, but it came with that as well. Like even Tipperary, I think they had 5 or 6 wides. No, McGrath had 3 in the first half. They all went wide on our side there where we were. All went wide in that post. They just couldn't get a judge of the wind, and it was real stop start, and that probably killed the game a small bit. And Galway as well, I suppose, probably didn't like that. If they took 1 or 2 goal chances in the first half, maybe as well, it would have drove on the game a small bit more, or drove them on a bit more. And it probably wasn't really the most exciting games of all time, but quarterfinals are like that, and sometimes they can go like that. And at the end of the day, as a Galway supporter, you don't care how boring they're as long as you win and get the result at the end of the day. So, but I think it was just with the sweeper as well. What you'll find is a sweeper could be on the ball a lot of the time, and there's no real excitement, and there mightn't be as much tackles because of the fact that he has the ball, and it's all about the ball that goes into the forward line. So there won't be as many big hits. And even though I think the next day now against Limerick, you'll find the intensity and the hits will go up an awful lot more than what was going on the last day. And as Kenneth says, like Bear, Sean Lynn, going to meet Noel McGrath at the start and 1 or 2 shoulders at the start. There wasn't too many big hits in the first half.
Just a point you touched on earlier, Craig, does that come from like nearly the intensity kind of going out of the game when, if you look from a Galway perspective, when they nearly have too much time on the ball?
Yeah, I think so, because if you're playing 15 on 15, you're obviously going to have an awful lot more tackles and an awful lot more hits in the ball, because the ball is going to be competed between 2 players an awful lot more. When you're playing a sweeper role like that, like the majority of the time the sweeper will have the ball, or someone will come off the sweeper and they'll have the ball, and it'll be all about what ball goes into the full forward line. So the intensity probably isn't as much there with a sweeper system game, and I suppose that's what people are giving out about over the last couple of years, that even with 2 inside now with the game, nearly all teams are setting up with 2 inside, and whether they're playing a blanket defence or a man out to the mid of the field, that the games probably aren't as intense as they used to be, as the 15 aside or the high ball in and a bit of schmozzling between a break and ball. That doesn't happen as much in the game anymore. Albeit there was times in the Munster Championship now, don't get me wrong, where there was hell for leather for 60 minutes out of the 70, but just the last day, it was very flat. But as I said to you, that's the way Galway went out. They set up that way. They didn't want to concede goals. They play call back. They trusted themselves to get the better ball into the full forward line, and it worked. It worked a treat, and like it would have worked an awful lot more if even another one of those goal chances went in. You know, people would have been talking about Galway winning by 6-7 points, and it wouldn't have been contested, or it would have been questioned, because that's how they were that much better than Tipperary the last day. So I don't think that bothers too much Galway. As Kenneth said, like Galway will set up probably a bit differently the next day against Limerick, albeit you'd imagine Colin will sit back, but they won't be able to stand off, or not that they did too much stand off, but there won't be as little hits or tackles the next day as there was against Tipperary the last day. That's for sure.
Even the way, Craig, Conor Whelan takes that goal after half time, and as you said, hurler of the year for him, like it's you just can't believe when you hear a comment like that about him being labelled as a one-trick pony, because if anything, since he's in people's eyes for hurler of the year for him.
Oh, without a doubt, like in my eyes anyway, and a lot more I've been reading their articles since Saturday, like, and he's up there as definitely number one in my eyes, but definitely in the top three for nearly everybody's eyes for hurler of the year. You know, I know there's a bit to go yet, like, but like he's done everything since that comment. I'd say he's done everything bar a one-trick pony to do. Like, he's absolutely shot the lights out. He's worked hard over tackles, like we all knew he could do, score goals, but like he's a bit like Haaland in the Premier League. Like, he just knows where to be. Like, it's no more than that goal. He just knew where to be, and you know, his finishing speaks for itself. And I think his points as well. Some of the points he scored, like the one that Evan gave him the flick for, and he gave the dummy the last day, like that was an outrageous point. And you know, you wouldn't very rarely see a point like that all year.
Kennedy, even his ability for him to know how to use his body to get across to the ball for the goal, like it's a tricky thing to do there.
Yeah, he's so elusive. He's so strong. It's hard to understand how strong he is until you're probably on him, or he's just able to roll the tackle. He'll take the hit off the back, and he still won't move, and he'll roll him, and he's gone. And he's so quick on the turn, and his skill level is so high as well. So like you can hit him low to him, high to him, anywhere at all. He doesn't care once the ball is coming in quickly to him. So like the back doesn't know at times, do I try and get in front of him here? Like they were trying to, but he was just rolling them, and then if they go and miss it, he's in for a goal. So it's hard to believe someone said that about him. And like players are always going to go through a little period.
What did you think when you heard that?
I thought it was just stupid. Like I didn't really think about it after. I said, okay, fine. Everyone has their own view of different things, so I think that wouldn't really bother me, and it probably didn't bother Conor Whelan either. So he's so important to the team. He creates space for guys around him. His movement is so important as well. It's not just his score getting, like Greg touched on his work rate. He's massive work rate, getting tackles in, and you can play him around centre forward as well, and he'll tackle all day. Which people probably don't see either, that he works so hard and shuts players down. Like if he's not on the ball, their probably best back is probably on them as well, and they're not on the ball either. Like so, you're always going to have a lull period. You probably had a lull period. You're not going to keep that high standard going all the time. If you look at all the top players, you could probably say the same about TJ Reid at certain times in his career, Whelan, different players like that. But over time they get going again, they find that switch again, and they just take off. Like so, for Galway to perform the next day, he's going to have to perform. But I think that looking at the overall, the Galway forwards will be a lot happier as well that they all perform well as well. Not that they weren't playing well, but they definitely come up another level to support Whelan, and that's definitely going to be happening, because Limerick are going to try and shut him down without a doubt. They think they can shut him down to maybe a point or two, that they're going to be well on the way to win this game. So I think Galway will need goals to win this game as well. If they get one or two goals, it'll be a big momentum swing, because Limerick don't score that many goals because they only keep the few guys inside. They kind of just play out the field. But again, they will get goals if you leave the space there. So I think it's important Galway still shut that space down. But Whelan is a big influence on the game the next day, and the guys around him will have to work hard again, and he'll work hard, and hopefully they will create lots of opportunities, and we just have to take them. If we miss that many against that we did the last day, we'll be struggling, because Limerick will not miss their chances. So it's important that they Just a bit more composure, yeah. I suppose the wind was a bit swirly the last. It was a hard one to call. And going back to the tempo of the game, I definitely suited Galway that tempo. It was a big open up 15-on-15 game. That's what Tip wanted, like, and Galway weren't going to let that happen. So if you want to win a game, you have to adapt to how we want to win it. So I think Galway are a lot happier in that regard, and Tip just couldn't adapt or get their own game, their own flow going. So that's up to them, and if Galway stopped them, that's Galway's is a good positive for Galway. So it's going to be the same the next year. How do Galway stop Limerick and perform to their own level as well? It's like 120 probably won't be enough to win the next day. It's going to be 223, 224 that they're probably going to need to win the game. So I think it's an intriguing battle, but I'd be confident that Galway, if they can perform to that level again, they definitely have to perform to that level. If they don't, I don't think they'll win, but if they do get to that level, they have a great chance.
Can you take positives as well, Craig, from if you look at the 2 goal chance opportunities, obviously it didn't put away. Conor's one there, Rhys Shelley makes a good save, but Cahill does play a great ball past Keenan Valley. Probably would be disappointed with the way he struck it in the end, but can you take positives from creating those 2 goal chances as well?
Oh, without doubt, like, yeah, like the plays up to the goal chances were brilliant. 9 times out of 10 they go in. It was a great save, like, so. But like the work that as Kenneth said, like the setup and all that suited us. It was all done, and like it was even the movement for the goal chances. It was all done from out the field, and it was from Cahill's balls, and like it was the movement inside as well. Like, and it's more than, even though Bino might be shooting the lights out at the minute, he was showing great movement as well for those chances as well. As was Keenan. Keenan did great work for them. I just thought Keenan worked very hard the last day, and I think it probably allowed the 2 lads inside and Kevin Cooney to work, or to be able to move an awful lot more as well. And I just think that all around it was just the 6 forwards the last day worked very, very well and created some good chance, as did Evan. Evan was working around very well as well. And as I said to you earlier on, like, I just think that if one of those goal chances went in, it'd be a different conversation.
Is that just the thing though, Craig, when you're playing Tip? If you look at Tip kind of coming back into the game and Galway were leading 115 to 110, they bring it back to 116. Galway kind of weathered the storm and went out by 2 in the end. But Tip are always going to get a purple patch. Is that just when it's Galway Tip, it takes on a life of its own, and Tip are going to come at some stage?
There's probably a bit of that in it, maybe from a few years ago when the trilogy and that maybe was going on. But like, the last day was probably just a lack of concentration and just a lapse really for the goal. We were going into the last quarter, we were 8 points up, and for Tipperary to bring that back to a point. I just don't think we can allow that to happen against Limerick the next day, because a better quality side will punish you for that. We had total control of the game, and it was just a soft goal really, like, and albeit they happen in games without a doubt. But I think we just need to be tuned in fully for 70 minutes the next day and not let that happen. And don't be giving up that much of a lead. And when Tipperary, I know Kenneth mentioned at the start of the podcast there, when Tipperary get their purple patch, that we control it, that we maybe allow them to have 2, 3 points, 4 points max, and then keep the scoreboard ticking over ourselves. And just don't let them maybe chase back a lead like they did, to set that they brought back from 8 points to 1 point up. Just probably no need for really like that. We were in total control of the game. Albeit I know we touched on the goal chances, that would have been different, but we also had 18 wides as well, which is, I know I scored about the efficiency earlier, or talked about the efficiency earlier on, but as you both mentioned there, we'll have to be a lot more efficient against Limerick, and we won't be able to have a tally of 18 wides or then goal chances.
And what's the biggest improvement for you, Craig? I feel like it's the point that Conor referenced in the interview after the game. He talks about character. Henry Shefflin even talks about, after the Leinster final, all the subs who didn't play going down to Clare. Is that the thing now about this Galway hurling squad, that there seems to be a togetherness and a character and resilience in buckets?
Yeah, and like, it's momentum as well. Like, a win is a win, and that'll push on. Like, and like, albeit I think the Kilkenny game should have seen it over the line. Same with the Dublin game. So like, we should be sitting here really talking about 3 wins in the trot, and maybe we wouldn't be playing a quarter-final. But there was very little in the Leinster final and very little in the Kilkenny match. So there is a good group there. I think they proved that the last day, and like Conor spoke about work rate, about momentum, about character. I think they had that in abundance the last day, and if their efficiency was more intact the last day, we'd be talking about a bigger scoreboard, and we'd be talking about an all-around performance, which it was there. Like, and albeit going into the Limerick game the last day or the next day, as I said to you, I think it suits us better that we only won by 2 points. But as Kenneth said there, like, I wouldn't be fearing this at all the next day. I give us a great chance. I'd probably give us a better chance than we've had in the last 2 semi-finals we played them. I just think that everything is going our way now. I think that the squad is just, I don't know, is it by default or the squad has just got very stronger in the last 2 games. The fact that the lads come on and done very well, and the lads that are off now are going to be raring to go, as he touched on. So in a manager's position, Henry must be absolutely delighted himself. His headaches going into semi-final to pick a team. He's a team that's full of confidence. He's young guns coming through as well that are shown as well. I'm sure Liam Collins and Declan McLaughlin, these guys are raring to go as well in the likes of training. I'm sure his 15-a-side games are probably very competitive now as well. So everything leans in their favour. And as well as that, they can see the vulnerability of Limerick all through the Munster Championship. So Limerick have lost a game. They've showed that there's definitely creaks coming within that team as well that they can exploit. And albeit, I know Kenneth touched on there that Limerick could probably say the next day that if we can stop Conor Whelan getting these 1-4 or 1-5 like he's done the last 2 games, that they'll be a long way there. But I think it's time for the likes of, say, Bino now and Kevin Cooney to step in as well. Like, Wheelo will always be Wheelo, and he'll always perform. And as Kenneth touched on there, he'll always have his work rate, and he'll always have his scoring boots on. But Bino now, like, that could be an opportunity for Bino and Kevin Cooney to cut in with their 1-4 or 1-5 the next day, because they're well capable of doing that as well.
This is obviously a repeat of last year's semi-final, Kenneth. Are we in a better position now compared to 12 months ago?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Even looking back in the Leinster final, the probably performances in bits and pieces, but it wasn't an overall great performance, but they still came back from 8 points down to go 2 up. Like, so that was showed character straight away. And if you're Kilkenny, you wouldn't be too happy with that performance and I know they got the goal to sneak it in the end, but they'd be worried enough going into play Clare now as well that their performance wasn't right. So I think Galway are definitely in a better position. I suppose looking at the Munster and Leinster Championships, wondering why the Tip not bring the same level. Munster Championship is so intense, I think, that to get so high in performance levels in the other games, maybe it can be very difficult to keep that going. I think Galway and Kilkenny probably have a slight advantage playing, okay, you could say the perceived weaker teams in Leinster. I'd say, like, obviously Wexford and Dublin are probably still a little bit behind the other Munster teams. So Galway and Kilkenny probably have an advantage there. They don't have to get too high in intensity level too early, that they can time the run a small bit. And I think that was the difference the last day as well in the intensity levels between Galway and Tip. That Galway could really target that game and really go at it. And I think Tip were trying to get themselves up again and they just couldn't get up. But again, you couldn't find Galway that they got that level. I think Galway's going back to the squad is probably better this year than it was last year. You've definitely more options. Dogged out a good win the last day. Okay, there's a few bits in Leinster final, like I said, what you wouldn't be happy with, conceding goals. I think they sorted that out. I think the backs, the whole team is a unit. I think it wasn't just the backs against Kilkenny in the Leinster final. I think the forwards as well tell that they didn't work as hard as they did the last day. Like, looking at the forwards didn't chase down the lost causes like they did against Tip in the Leinster final. They'll tell themselves that straight away. Like, they worked tirelessly off the ball to create space to each other and to hunt down Tip when they had the ball. So they're going to have to bring that again. If you look at the Kilkenny game, they didn't do that for the full game in bits and pieces at all. So I think definitely in a better position. They're full. I think they'll be confident. They'll be quietly confident. But again, they know what's coming against them. They're going to have to be ready and how they're going to shut it down. And it's going to be an intriguing game. It's going to be exciting. The rest of the forwards, it's looking at some of the forwards, just touched on it there, they definitely wouldn't be happy overall as well. Like, they still had chances, and I know Galway, they still won, but they wouldn't be, if they look at their own performance individually, there's definitely more in them. They could get a few more scores. They probably missed a few chances they shouldn't miss. Kevin Cooney probably had a few chances again. He'd be disappointed he didn't score them. Bino again had a few balls in his hand and just spilled them. And like again, that could flick the next day and he could score 3 or 4 points in the first half and his confidence is up straight away. So that's if you're hoping the likes of them guys step up again the next day, which we need to happen. Like,
Craig, not this week now, there's obviously not much hype, but next week it's going to build up a lot. It's going to build up to Limerick. And I just want to put the question to you. Can Galway win the All-Ireland this year?
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. Like, if Galway beat Limerick, in my eyes, they win the All-Ireland. I know that's a big statement, like, but I think it's probably a mental block more than anything now over the case of the last 2 All-Ireland semi-finals or 3 that they've lost to Limerick the last couple of years. That's their roadblock at the minute. And I think if they can up the performance and get a full all-around, and look, Limerick are going to get the purple patches, as we mentioned, but you're still going to need a 70-minute performance. So the last 3 games, I suppose, they've had, the last day was probably their best performance in regards to all-around, because they probably played for about 65 minutes, bit of lapse of conversation for 5 minutes, let Tipperary back into it. The Dublin game, they probably definitely didn't perform to where they wanted to do, or to be. The Kilkenny game, without a doubt, albeit they brought it back and they had a 10-point swing, they definitely didn't perform 70 minutes the way they wanted to. But against Limerick and against the All-Ireland champions and what they've done over the last couple of years, don't care how many lads they're missing or anything like that, they're going to need an all-around performance from 20 lads or 19 or 20 lads that will see it out for 75, 76 minutes. And if they can do that, which I think they can, I think it's in them. I think it's building perfectly for them. I think the curve has gone up and it's very good. If they can do that, I think that, yes, without a doubt, I would not fear Clare or Kilkenny in an Ireland final. Not at all. I would 100% be confident, as I am the next day. So, yeah, it's going to be an absolute battle. It'll take the game of their life from some lads, without a doubt. But I think it's in them. I think the way they set up the last day, I think if they can play that system like they did the last day with Cahill sitting back and make sure the distribution is good, and they can just be a bit more clinical and a bit more efficient with the ball and the scores and bring down the tally of wides and be more efficient when they get the goal chances, that they can beat Limerick the next day. I just on that as well, like, Limerick are so good on that. Like, they're so efficient with their shots. They don't miss too many goal chances. Whelan, Seamus Flanagan, Peter Casey, whoever's inside, they do not miss too many chances. So that's why I think we just need to be absolutely clinical on that the next day. And albeit I know it was, from being down there the last day and even the wides in the first half, like, there was a swirling wind there that you probably wouldn't find in Croke Park. So that definitely factored in, but just cannot have 18 miles the next day. And I think that'll be a big factor, their scoring efficiency the next day.
Did you see them getting up steps at Hogan this year, Kenneth?
yeah, absolutely. Like, the curve is going up all the time. We're performing a little bit better every day. But it'll definitely the performance has to come up another bit the next day again. It's going to have to. I can't see them beating Limerick unless it comes up a little bit more overall. Everyone in their own positions coming up to another little bit. But if you get over Limerick, it'll fill them with massive confidence. So you'd have to be confident if you get over the next day that they will go all the way. But again, that you don't, if they do win, that we don't get too excited. There's still another game before, and that's where you could get caught. Galway have often beaten the favourites in semi-finals and go to a final and then leave it behind and don't perform. But I think, yeah, that's for another day. The main thing is the target is the next day, and look after that and perform to where we need to, where they can and where they have to get to. And how they're going to shut down Limerick is going to be the biggest thing. Can't let Limerick dominate the game. And the puck-out strategy of Galway, how are they going to... They can't bomb down high ball on top of them 3 guys. Well, it'll be interesting to see if Hannon's back or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. They're making out he's probably worse than he is, but I don't be surprised if you see him there. If they put Dan Morrissey out there and Rich English back in, that's still a strong half-back line. Galway going to have to figure out how they're going to create space and not hit balls straight down top of them, and can't let their half-back line dominate the game, or we're going to be in trouble straight away. So it'll be more the same, trying to get variety or quick puck outs away to Cahill and whoever's loose, and the back's being brave again when we have possession to go look for it, and try and work it out the field in. And I think it's a great position to be in. Again, if Galway no one really thinks they'll do it by themselves, outside of Galway. Everyone thinks Limerick is going to beat Galway. Everyone in Galway hope we're going to perform and get a result, but it's a great position to be in. And a few newer guys, you could say, there's no real new guy, they've all experienced, like they've all played in Croke Park plenty of times as well. Galway have more experience in Croke Park than Limerick do, so it's not going to be a phase the Galway guys going to Croke Park to play Limerick, so I'd be confident in a few tweaks here and there, and getting, I think matchups will be very important for Galway, who goes on who. Who's going to match the strength to the Limerick boys, and I don't know who in the middle of the field are going to have to dictate, try and take his influence out of the game. So I think it's definitely there for us, but it'll be a full battle on.
At that game at 6 o'clock Saturday week in Croke Park, All-Ireland semi-final with Limerick. Just as well, there's 5 Galway minors today picked up all stairs as well. Goalkeeper Shane Murray, Michael Burke, Sean Murphy, Jason Rabbit, and Aaron Island. So congratulations to all them players as well on fantastic years. Lads, you've been very friendly for 2 clubs that are going to be battling it out in a few weeks.
Oh yes, we're talking about each county hurl here.
It's a few weeks away now, Paul. Easy.
2 weeks away, yeah.
It's a nice group when you look at it. Portumna, Sherlock Moore, and your neighbours Thomas's.
Nice for who?
Not for all teams.
Yeah, there's going to be some battles, right? But yeah, nothing easy anymore in Senior A, is there?
How have you found the split season now? I suppose it's a month away from club championship. Now that's good. Obviously, that can be pushed back if Galway reach a final. But how have you found the split season now? I suppose coming closer to club championship.
Yeah, like I think I was on a podcast here before last year, and I was saying about how the split season, how they start the league early in March, and the league finals were on 2 weeks ago, and now you have 5 weeks or 4 weeks to the championship starting.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So you're bringing back club teams early to play the league, but yet the league is over 5 weeks before the championship. So I just that in that side of it, I just thought the county board could maybe push out the league a small bit more, and you wouldn't have like. No Galway team is probably want to play challenges against the Galway team over the next 5 weeks. But other than that, it's grand. Like, it's probably a bit tough on fitness wise, because it's hard as management trying to get like their teams probably peak in fitness wise, because you're playing challenge games in March, you're playing league games in March, and you don't want teams bombing around being fit in March or April, and then by the time championship comes in August, you're trying to get them back up again to that level. But yeah, it's good. Like, it's a pity they have to put it on Saturday and Sunday, the races, but I don't know. It's like it's a tough one.
That'll be fun, right?
Yeah, I don't know how some teams are going to do it, but yeah, no, sure. Look at it. I suppose the only good thing about it is it gives the club player 3, 4, 5 months a year to go off and do their thing in their holidays and etc. And they're not tied down to 2 matches in April or maybe a match in May, and you're tied down in not being able to do stuff and stuff like that. So that's definitely a plus to it.
Would you say there's a rivalry there with Thomas's?
Not so much anymore. Once when we used to get the finals and semi-finals and stuff like that, but we haven't been there in a while now. So,
would you say there's a rivalry, Kenneth?
Yeah, friendly rivalry, yeah.
But
yeah. I know the split season is okay, like yeah. Decided to make same point as Greg, I suppose. Yeah, the league probably starts a bit too early. If you put out a few more weeks, you could build it into your kind of build up to championship, and yeah, you're going to be looking for challenge matches in like in July, and if we had even one league game and in the final in July. But I suppose it's hard. There's under 20 championship on to even now as well, yeah, and there's all that starting a junior championship. I suppose it's trying to get the balance, but yeah, you're training a long time, therefore you're really into the heat of it. So a couple of weeks more out, I think, would be enough. If you got it out into April, start the league in April, it's probably enough, and then it's not as wouldn't have to start as early, like, because you can't just go back and play league games without a bit of training. You still need to have a bit of training done, or lads are going to get injured and break down, and so it is a long year, and you're trying to manage that. And again, it's all at the end of the day for clubs as well. It's a cost, and trying to run in a team and running the ground and all that. So it's a knock-on effect. So I think pushed out a few more weeks, I think it'd be better all around. But I think the senior A championship will be interesting this year. It's going to be very competitive, and everyone has an opportunity, and it'll be straight out of the barrel first game, competitive game.
Has it been challenging knowing when to come back for Thomas's after a long year like he had last year?
I know not really. Like they got the few months off. It was December we finished up. Like, so in fairness, they got the couple of months off and they were back in the gym and they enjoyed the gym. So a few younger guys coming in as well, freshen things up. And I know we weren't going to train flat out at the start either. You're kind of just doing bits and pieces to keep them going and for the league, get the league games played and trying guys out and see who's available. And obviously guys going back to county then, so you're always going to be down a few and a few lads been travelling. So I know a lot of clubs are in the same boat. Guys are kind of a few lads gone to America and a few lads gone away. So I think majority of clubs have a couple of lads gone away. So it's a bit of a balancing act at the moment. And by the time mid-July or that comes, every club will be hope to have their full teams back and really going at it for the start of August, which will be strange, right? Then the race week, how that'll go down. But yeah, it's not going to change. I said that's the start date now, and that's what's going to be.
Yeah, the club championship to look forward to now in a month or so. And as I mentioned, it's Galway Limerick All-Ireland semi-final. That's the next game now for Galway, and it's one they're going to be looking to win to reach their first All-Ireland final since 2018. That's all on our show for today. Thanks a million to Kenneth and Craig for coming on.
Cheers, bud.